Welcome to physics online session. Today we will discuss an important topic, that is electromagnetic induction. So in the previous chapter you have studied that current carrying conductors produces a magnetic field around it. Okay, so and this phenomena was first observed by Ørsted. This is known as Ørsted experiment according to Ørsted. So when current I passes through the wire and magnetic field is produced around it. Okay, and we have also studied the magnetic field produced by solenoids, toroids, etc. in the previous class. Okay, so when it was known to us that current carrying conductors produces magnetic field, naturally one question arises to us that can't we produce current by using magnetic field? Okay, here according to Ørsted, so current is responsible for magnetic field. By using current we are able to produce magnetic fields. Now here the question is, can we produce current by using magnetic field? Okay, so to find answer to this question, so number of experiments were conducted by Faraday and Henry around 1830. So they concluded that changing magnetic field induces current in a coil. Not simply magnetic field, the changing magnetic field are able to induce current in a coil, and this phenomena by which electric current is generated by varying magnetic field is known as electromagnetic induction. So this is our present chapter. Okay, so in this chapter, so we will discuss the experiments of Faraday and Henry and the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Before going to discuss Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, we have to know what is magnetic flux, and next Lenz's law, it gives the direction of the current induced in a coil, and we will explain the direction of current by using conservation of energy also. Next topic is motional electromotive force, energy consideration, inductance, and finally AC generator. These are the topics we are going to discuss in electromagnetic induction chapter. Okay, and the next I'll start with the experiments of Faraday and Henry. This is experiment number 1. Here the coil C1 is connected to, this is a coil with some number of turns, the two ends related with the first end and this is the second end. Two ends of the coil are connected to a galvanometer. This is a galvanometer. Okay, so what is the function of galvanometer? Which detects the current in the coil or circuit. So let us take a bar magnet, which is a source of magnetic field. Okay, and these are the magnetic field lines that are passing through the coil. Okay, right. When a bar magnet with its north pole is being pushed towards a coil, the north pole being pushed towards a coil, so the pointer in the galvanometer shows deflection. So here the deflection in the galvanometer shows the presence of current in the coil. This is very important concept. There is no source of current, just we are moving a bar magnet towards a coil and we are able to induce current in it. Okay, there is no source of current, still we are able to induce current in the coil by changing the magnetic field. Okay, So how? So when the bar magnet is here, when you push the bar magnet so towards a coil, what happens? More number of lines passes through the coil. So the magnetic flux, magnetic field linked with the coil increases. Okay, the magnetic field increasing. So then what happens? Changing magnetic field. Initially it is small, and when it is pushed towards the coil, the magnetic field increases. Okay, that is why current will be induced in the coil. In the next case, for example, in the first case, when north pole of the bar magnet is pushed towards a coil, so let the deflection in the galvanometer is towards right. The next case, when the bar magnet is pushed away from the coil, let it deflects in another direction, that is towards left. Okay, deflection in the galvanometer will be in opposite direction. Okay, but when magnet held stationary, here deflection is 0. In the previous case, deflection towards right, deflection towards left, but when the magnet is held stationary, so then there will be no deflection. As long as the bar magnet is in motion, then only current will be induced in the coil. Once it stops its motion, so no current will be induced. Okay, and so next reverse the direction of the bar magnet. No, south pole of the bar magnet is being pushed towards the coil. What happens? So same effects, so similar type of effects will be observed, but deflection will be in opposite directions. Okay, so and here the deflection become much larger when you move the bar magnet faster. If you move the bar magnet slower, the deflection will be small. If you move the bar magnet faster, at a faster rate, the deflection will also be large. Okay, so here the amount of current induced, deflection large means the amount of current which was induced in it also large. Okay, the amount of current induced in the coil depends upon how fast you are pushing or pulling away from the coil. Okay, no, instead of moving a bar magnet, no, in the second case I am keeping the bar magnet stationary, and the bar magnet stationary, I am moving coil C1 towards or away from the bar magnet. Similar type of effects will be observed. Okay, so here the relative motion between the coil and bar magnet induces current in the coil. Okay, these are the observations of Henry and Faraday. Okay, so next one, experiment number 2. So in the first case, the source of magnetic field was taken as bar magnet. In the second experiment, the source of magnetic field is taken as another coil. Here this is the first coil which was connected to galvanometer, and this is a second coil which is connected to a battery, Okay, so when solenoid, this is called solenoid, a coil with a number of turns, okay, so is known as a solenoid when it is connected to a battery. So according to Oersted experiment, so magnetic field produced around a coil, and this is the magnetic field of a solenoid is also similar to that of a bar magnet. Okay, and this is a source of magnetic field. No, it plays the same role as a bar magnet. No, in this case, when coil C2 pushed towards a coil, the galvanometer shows deflection in one direction. When coil C2 pushed away from the coil C1, it shows deflection but in opposite direction. Okay, and similarly, if you held a C2 stationary and if you move C1 towards a C2 or away from C2, similar effects will be observed. Okay, so here this is the experiment number 2. So in the previous two cases, whether coil C1 or bar magnet or coil C1 or C2, so the relative motion between the coils induces current in one of the coil. Okay, now here I am taking a, I am going to third experiment. Here coils C1 and C2. Now these two coils held stationary. So no coil is in motion here. Still we are able to observe induced current in one of the coil here. Let us see. This is coil C1, as usual, is connected to a galvanometer G. Okay, and coil C2 is connected to a battery with the help of a key. Okay, initially the key was open. When this key was open, no current in the coil C2. When no current, no magnetic field in coil C2, no magnetic field lines passes through the coil C1, the initial magnetic field is 0. Okay, but once you close the key, the magnetic flux increases. For example, magnetic flux I don't want to discuss phi now, just magnetic field B, and this is Bi, this is Bf. Now this is magnetic field, the final magnetic field. Once you close the key, okay, once you close the key, current in the coil increases. Current passes through the coil, it produces magnetic field, those magnetic field lines are passing through it. Now initially 0 magnetic field, later for example 1 Tesla, let us suppose. Now when you press the key, you will get momentarily deflection. Okay, so at the time of pressing only you will get a deflection. Okay, after 1 second you don't find any deflection. Why? Because for example at t equals to 0 second, okay, so key was open, so the magnetic key was open, no current passing through the coil, and magnetic field is 0. Once you press the key, so current become, for example, 10 amperes, so corresponding magnetic field, let it be 1 Tesla. Okay, this is about after 1 second. After 2 seconds, seconds, it is also in the pressed state, so the magnetic field again 1 Tesla. Here there is no change of magnetic field from 1 second to 2 seconds. When there is no change of magnetic field, there will be no deflection in the galvanometer. Whenever there is a continuous change in the magnetic field has to change continuously. Whenever there is a continuous change in magnetic field in the coil, then only current will be induced. Okay, this is the phenomenon of electromagnetic induction. Next topic is Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So before going to discuss Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, we have to know what is magnetic flux. So we have discussed electric flux in the electrostatics chapter. So electric flux nothing but the total number of electric field lines passing through the surface perpendicularly. Okay, similarly the magnetic flux is defined as the total number of magnetic field lines crossing the given area normally. Okay, whatever the number of lines passing through the given surface perpendicularly, that one gives the magnetic flux. Okay. So here the magnetic flux through the, now let us consider an area A held in a magnetic field, placed in a magnetic field B as shown in the figure. Here this is the area vector. Okay. So this is the area vector which is always perpendicular to area, and this is the direction of the magnetic field, and they are inclined at an angle theta. Okay, theta is the angle between the area vector and magnetic field. So here the magnetic flux through the area A held in the magnetic field is given by, so here we need, this is the area vector, okay, and this is the magnetic field B, and this is A. Okay, we need the amount of magnetic field perpendicular to area. We need the total number of magnetic field lines crossing the surface perpendicularly. Okay, and these lines are not perpendicular to area. We need the component of magnetic field along the direction of area. So that will be, if you resolve it into two components, this is theta and this become B cos theta. Okay. So now this B cos theta is along the area. Now the flux is given by, the magnetic flux is equals to B bar dot A bar, nothing but B A cos theta. The magnetic flux depends upon the magnetic field B, area, and also the angle between the magnetic field and area. Okay, this is the magnetic flux. Okay, and the SI unit of magnetic flux is given by Weber. Okay, so SI unit is Weber. It is a scalar quantity. The magnetic flux is a scalar quantity. Scalar quantity. Okay, now see special cases. Special cases. For example, this is the, if theta is equals to 0 degrees, this is the direction of the magnetic field. Magnetic field is directed towards right. Okay, and area is placed like this. Okay, area, this is area and this is area vector. Okay, here surface is parallel, surface is parallel to the magnetic field. Surface is parallel, no, yeah, this is surface is parallel, and surface vector, nothing but area vector, is perpendicular to magnetic field. So here theta is 90. First case, let us take theta equals to 90. Then what will be the magnetic flux? When surface is parallel to the magnetic field, this is a surface parallel to the magnetic field, surface vector, nothing but area vector, will be perpendicular to magnetic field. In that case, phi magnetic flux through the surface is given by VA cos 90. Here phi B is equals to, magnetic flux become 0. No flux will be linked with the surface. Okay, so no single magnetic field line is passing perpendicular to the surface. The flux will be 0. Okay, so magnetic flux gives us the total number of magnetic field lines passing perpendicularly. Here no single line is passing perpendicularly, all the magnetic field lines are passing parallel to the surface. No single line is perpendicular, no component of magnetic field is perpendicular to the surface. So the flux in this case will be 0. This is the first case. Now case number 2. Case number 2, if theta is equals to 0 degrees, this is the surface. No, the surface is perpendicular to the magnetic field. Now this surface is perpendicular to the magnetic field, and this is the area vector. This is the area vector. Okay, when surface is parallel, area vector makes an angle theta equals to 90 with the surface, with the magnetic field. Here theta equals 0. Surface is perpendicular, but surface vector is in the direction of the magnetic field. Both magnetic field and area are parallel to each other. In this case, pi b is equals to BA cos 0 degrees, that is equals to BA. The flux will be maximum in this case. Flux is maximum. Okay. Now all the magnetic field lines are passing perpendicular to the area. Here no single line is passing perpendicular to the area, so flux is 0 minimum. Okay. Here total magnetic field lines are passing perpendicular to the area, so flux will be maximum. Okay. So now I will take another case. Let us take the magnetic field is non-uniform over the surface. Let us consider a surface A, okay, which is a regular shape. Now in this case we have to divide the area into number of elements. Let us consider this is area dA bar, small area, total area is A. Okay, it has a regular shape, so the magnetic field has only one direction. Here the magnetic field is different, has different direction at different areas, so the magnetic field is non-uniform. In that case, the area must be divided into small elements. Let us take a small element dA, such a small element dA, and this is the direction of the magnetic field. Okay, this is the direction of the magnetic field. And what is the direction of the area vector? This is the direction of the magnetic field, and area vector is always perpendicular to area. This is area vector dA bar. This is area vector, always perpendicular. Let it be theta. Now the flux through this small area will be given as d pi b is equals to b bar dot dA bar. Okay, when the magnetic field is non-uniform, in case of uniform magnetic field you can take this formula. In case of non-uniform magnetic field, you have to divide the area into small element, and you have to find the magnetic field flux through each element, and let d pi b is the magnetic flux through one such element, that is equals to b bar dot dA bar. And what is the total magnetic field? Total magnetic flux can be obtained by adding small elements d pi b. Okay, simply we will get a pi b is equals to, so sum of all elements are summation of b bar dot dA bar. Okay, if dA is very small, tends to 0, the magnetic flux can also be written as, can be replaced by summation integration, that is b bar dot dA bar. Okay, you can also use this expression. When dA is very small, we can replace integration by summation. Okay, so this is about the magnetic flux. We have three different cases where the magnetic flux is minimum, maximum, and where the magnetic field is non-uniform. Okay, this is about the magnetic flux. Okay, magnetic flux nothing but how many number of magnetic field lines are passing the surface perpendicularly. Okay, once again I am repeating. So if the surface is parallel to the magnetic field, no single line is passing perpendicular to the surface, all the field lines are parallel, the flux is 0. If the surface is perpendicular, all the field lines are passing through the surface perpendicularly, the flux will be maximum. In case where the magnetic field is non-uniform, the total magnetic flux can be represented by this expression, pi b is equals to closed integral of b bar dot dA bar. And the next one, Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So according to Faraday, so when the magnetic flux linked with the coil changes, an EMF is induced in it. Okay, in the previous expressions, in the previous experiment, what I told here, what is changing here, what we have concluded here, the changing magnetic field can induce current in a coil, but it is not true, completely true, because not only magnetic field has to change, but also it does not depend only on the magnetic field. See here, the current induced in the coil depends on the magnetic flux, but not only on the magnetic field. Here what is changing here? Magnetic flux that is linked with the coil changing here. Okay, so what is the magnetic flux? Magnetic flux depends upon three quantities: B, A, cos theta. Okay, here the coil is placed perpendicular to the magnetic field. Okay, when the coil is placed perpendicular, this is the coil and the magnetic field is perpendicular. Okay, so here the flux will be maximum in this case. Okay, here the flux pi b is equals to BA cos 0. So that is when the coil is perpendicular, the area vector is parallel to the magnetic field. So that is why you get BA, the flux will be maximum. All the magnetic field lines are passing perpendicularly, so the flux will be maximum in this case. Okay, now so whether we have to know whether flux is changing or not. Here in order to change the flux, either B has to change or A or theta has to change. If you are able to change any one of these, the flux will change here. Here area of the coil is not changing, we are keeping area constant. Okay, and it is kept perpendicular, theta is constant, A is constant, so theta is constant. We are not rotating the coil and we are not changing the area of the coil. Okay, so we are just changing the magnetic field by moving the bar magnet. When the bar magnet is here, okay, for example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines are passing through it, but the same coil. So here for example, initially the coil is here, same coil, how many number of lines, how many magnetic field lines are passing through the coil here? 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so when the coil is moved away from the bar magnet, when it is moved away from the bar magnet, okay, the flux is small, only 3 lines are passing through it, flux decreases. Okay, when the coil move towards the bar magnet, flux increases. For example, we have 2 more lines here, 2 more magnetic field lines, but not represented in the figure. When the coil is very close to the when the coil is very close to the when the coil is very close to the bar magnet, no, these additional lines also passing through it. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, 9 lines are passing to this coil. The flux is maximum in this case. Okay, so when you are moving the bar magnet to the coil, the magnetic field, nothing but magnetic flux changing. Okay, the magnetic flux changes. So here magnetic flux, whenever the magnetic flux linked with the coil is changing, then current will be induced in it. Okay, so in order to change the flux, so either you have to change B or A or theta. Okay, then the flux changes. Let us take one more example. If the coil is placed like this, let us imagine this is the coil, okay, and with a number of turns and this is a Bohr magnet with north pole is when pushed towards a coil. No single line is passing perpendicular to the coil. So, the magnetic field which is passing perpendicular to the coil is 0. Okay. So, the magnetic flux linked with the coil will be 0. When B is equals to 0, pi B is equals to formula B A cos theta. When pi B is, when magnetic field is 0, so then magnetic flux also 0. Okay. So, no single line is passing perpendicular. Here when it is perpendicular, total field lines are passing perpendicularly. No single line is passing perpendicularly. When area, when this coil kept parallel to the magnetic field, no single line passing perpendicularly here like this. Okay, the flux will be 0. Okay, so remember one thing. So whenever the flux linked with the coil changes, then only current will be induced in the coil. Okay. So here what happens in this case here, in the third case, you have to explain the induction of current in the coil by using Faraday's law. So let know when you, before you press the key, okay, there is no magnetic field, so the flux, initial flux will be B A cos, here the angle between area and magnetic field will be 90 perpendicular. Okay, cos 90. So pi I is equals to B A, but before you press the key, no current. Okay, when key is open, current in the circuit is 0. When current in the circuit is 0, according to Einstein experiment, when no current, no magnetic field is developed. When magnetic field is 0, so when magnetic field is 0, flux, initial flux is 0. Okay. In the second case, when key is closed, current starts flowing in this coil C2. So and it produces magnetic field around it. Okay. So then flux, final flux will be B A cos, sorry, here area vector will be parallel 0 degrees, not cos 0, it is 0 since B equals to 0, theta is cos 0. Okay. Now here also cos 0, why cos theta is 0 degrees? Here this is the magnetic field. When current passes through the coil, it produces magnetic field similar to Bohr magnet. These are the magnetic field lines passing perpendicularly. Magnetic field, this is the area, this is the area vector, and this is the magnetic field. Both are parallel to each other. So the cos theta will be 0, the flux will be maximum, pi f is equals to B A. This is the magnetic flux. Okay. So whenever at the time when you press the key, the flux changes from 0 to B A. Whenever the flux changes, so according to the Faraday's law, so what current will be induced? It shows deflection in the galvanometer. Okay. So it shows only momentarily deflection. Okay. For example, it is at time t equals to 0, and at t it is at a time t equals to 1 second. But after and you close the key for few seconds, after after 2 seconds, so once again it is key is closed, please in the closed state. Once again current is present in the circuit, same magnetic field is there, the flux pi f is equals to B A again. Okay. So from 1 second to 2 seconds there will be no change in the flux, therefore no current will be induced in the other secondary coil. Here there is a current in the primary coil due to the battery. So and due to the change in the magnetic flux that is linked with the coil C1, inducing one more current in the coil C1, that is called induced current. Okay. So, this is the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, and according to Faraday, the magnitude of induced EMF in a coil is equals to a rate of change of magnetic flux through the coil. Okay. So, whatever the current or EMF induced in the coil, so not only depends upon the flux, but how fast it is changing. Okay. In the previous class I told that if you move the bar magnet slowly towards the coil, so deflection is small. If you push the bar magnet rapidly at a faster rate, deflection will be maximum. So, if you move the bar magnet or any coil, this coil C2 coil towards C1 coil, so at a faster rate, the rate of change of flux is maximum. So, we can say that current or EMF induced in a coil, so depends upon how fast you change the magnetic flux. That is why, so it depends upon 4 quantities. So, the current induced or EMF induced in a coil depends upon the magnetic field B, area A, theta, and also tan. Okay. So, and combinedly they can be written as E equals to minus d pi b by dt. So, okay, the magnitude of induced EMF is equals to the rate of change of magnetic flux linked with the coil. Here negative sign indicates that induced EMF is opposite to the change in the flux. Okay. So, the direction of induced EMF will be explained in the next topic, that is by Lenz's law. Lenz's law gives the direction of the induced current. So, here remember, so direction of the induced EMF is opposite to the change of the flux. Okay, right. So, if there are n number of turns in a coil, if a coil has single turn, okay, the induced EMF will be minus d pi b by dt. If there are n turns in a coil, then induced EMF will be minus n into d pi b by dt. Okay. So, this is the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. So, in the next class we will discuss Lenz's law. Thank you.